Hello, 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 and welcome to Open the Door. And it's Open the Door October, where we do our feedback sessions. And without any further ado, let me bring in my partner in rhyme, Dapz from Compound Audio. What's up, Dapz? How you doing?
Yo, what's going on? You all good?
I'm really good. And big up to everybody who's already joining us. Look at you lot all early in the room. We've got
I know.
Stuart Brown, we've got Tyson, we've got Chaz. Hello, Chaz. How you doing? We've got
Yeah.
Paul, we've got Diane.
DJ Ride.
Yeah,
What's going on?
awesome. Everybody's already joining us nice and early, which is awesome.
That's it.
I hope everyone is really good and not feeling the cold too bad. I'm actually sitting here with a little, I'm not preggers, I promise you. It's a little hot water bottle, look, where I could put my little hands in and keep nice and warm.
Oh my God.
Come on, man. You know there's a sound effect for this. That's perfect, right? So that's how cold it is for me. I get cold so quickly. We're just waiting for people to get in the room.
I know we're spicing it up today, people. We've got a few little samples.
We want to have a bit of a laugh and we want to wait a second before everyone gets in. It always reminds me of that TikTok where people are taking the mickey out of influencers who, I can't stand influencers either, but they're like, just waiting for more people to join in the room. Oh, you're so beautiful. Oh, thank you. And it's like a guy dressed in girls' clothes and like with massive moles all over their face. That's so funny. We have got a wicked feedback session for you this month. And don't forget, if your track doesn't make it this month, it will roll over into next month's, so for November. So we will get through. A couple of rules before we get going. We're big on being respectful and not critical to people and building them up. We ask you to refrain from putting, horrible things in the chat. Most of you don't, and we love that. We love how positive this chat always is. So if we can stick to that, that would be awesome. Let's support each other and make this a safe space. Right.
Do you get me?
Yeah, I'm so hyped. I can't wait. Right. Awesome. Induction, we're well, thank you. And we're going to definitely be reviewing your track today. All right.
Yeah, welcome in, bro.
Yeah. Should we get this party? Oh, and by the way, the last half hour, 15 minutes, we'll do any other questions that you may have. So if you've got questions, save them for right at the end. And then we can answer them. Otherwise, we've got to scroll all the way through the chats, and it's hard for us to do two things at once. So
The multitask business.
the multitask business. Shall we get started? Enough chatting, right, Dapz?
Indeed. Right, so track 1, we have Danny Jenk, Don't Walk Away.
Run the motherfucking rhythm.
Awesome.
I didn't hear that sound effect. Yeah, they need to be louder. That's awesome. Well, all right, calm down, everyone. I think we can all agree that that tune was absolutely awesome. Do you want to go first, hun?
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I was listening to it. I was actually vibing to it, to be fair. And there's only a couple of things really that stuck out for me, and it's the overall finish of the tune. And what I mean by that is there's bits of distortion happening in places, and it's mainly like as the samples filter in, it's obviously overshooting and it's passing zero, so it starts to break up. So I noticed it more in the intro, and I thought to myself, "Oh, are we distorting on the output?" But it's not. It's actually the tune. So I'll just quickly play the tune now, and I'll point it out to you what I was referring to. So here, can you hear how the samples break in? It's got like this crunchy sort of sound to it. Yeah, you can notice it there more in the sides. Look. Say screaming, and I noticed it here as well. It's basically that unpleasant distortion, not the nice saturation distortion. So the way around that is on that particular sound. Let's go to the sample that you've used. On that particular sound, you need to put a limiter or a heavy compressor. I mean, essentially a limiter is a compressor but with a super high ratio after the filter. So as the filter's filtering through the frequencies and it's sweeping, it's going to hit like, certain frequencies, and it's going to exaggerate them massively. So the limiter will prevent it from overshooting, and it will tame it, keep it under control. And it's doing it on the bass as well. So it's a similar thing, because you can really hear it there on this bit of sample here. So this bass, it's just a bit clippy. So again, you must group your basses, or your top basses, the subs, whatever, and then control them by using limiting, just to stop them from overshooting. The way I kind of see this is that you've achieved loudness by putting all the pressure on the master output, and you've used like a limiter, possibly a clipper, to try and force the loudness. Whereas if you distributed it across buses, group channels, it would have took a lot more pressure off the master out. But in terms of the tune, it's great. There's a couple of things that could come up or come down in the mix, but I think it's actually really cool. That for me, if you could sort the distortion out, it's a winner. To be fair, it's a really cool tune.
Yeah, thumbs up for that one. I think that I put the same thing. I put distortion needs taming, and I put like limiters, blah blah blah. I also think that there could be a little bit of firstly, the tune's great, and that's the important thing. The tune is really good. It's got bags of personality. It's got lots of life in it. It doesn't get boring, and it's awesome. I think there's a little bit of room, not to say you should throw every space and fill it, but a little bit with the effects. You could play a little bit more with some effects in there, in the sense of transitions. But for me, the main thing, again, was distortion on the channels. And I've put here, at the end of the channel, ask if there are limiters, and also some compression maybe on those drums a little bit. But for me, mainly, when I do a track, I group all my tracks as buses. Obviously, have everything like bass bus, snare bus, kick bus, all that stuff. And I always have a utility and a limiter at the end of everything. And one, I can control the volumes that way, and it just stops any peaking. But if you do have an EQ or a filter or something that needs a little bit of taming, you can to put a limiter again after that plugin, as Dapz was saying. But I love that track. Good job.
Yeah,
Yay!
it's cool. I mean, the other thing as well, like, as a visual reference, you can see how lined off the track is. Whereas, I get it, that's how tracks do look when they're heavily limited. But, again, this is a kind of like 10-year ago look. Nowadays, with side chaining and stuff, you will see the drops and the rivets where the kick is side chained to the bass, and it's creating that little bit of move, that bit of groove and stuff like that. But yeah, I just think it's purely a mix thing, which you will get to grips with as you keep producing and producing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and if you
So
guys want us to show you how to set up those buses or do that, just let us know. That's easy for us to show you, no problem. It's a simple, I've got it all set up already. My door is a preset. So I just open up my Ableton or my
yep,
Bableton, as I like to call it.
Ableton.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes,
All
Doms. What
right.
we saying, bro? London, big ups. More and more people are in. What we saying?
Hello, everybody who's just joining us from wherever you are. This is Open the Door, where we give you our feedback on tracks you've submitted. And there's a pinned message there. If you're interested in submitting tracks, it tells you all how to do it. It's free, nice and easy. Just go to my website, click the link. All right. What's next?
So track 2, we have
Junglist
Junglist Vibes, Can't Done. You get me? So
You get me.
Run the motherfucking rhythm.
this is how we do it. Yeah.
Let's go, let's go. Yo, R.I.P. to all the D&B fallen soldiers, all the legends. R.I.P. MC Fats, R.I.P. MC Skimmer D, R.I.P. MC Stormin, R.I.P. Dominator, R.I.P. Tenor Fly, R.I.P. Vega D, R.I.P. Yash, R.I.P. Marcus Intellect, R.I.P. Jason K, R.I.P. Chemistry, R.I.P. Stevie IPD, R.I.P. to everyone we've lost in the scene. Your legacies will continue. Vibes get done. We were listening to bass and drum from 19 long. It's still going strong. Ring, ding, dong. The jungle is vibes get done. We were listening to bass and drum from 19 long. It's still going strong. There's nothing quite like the energy flows and the vibes. Sounds cliche, but the drum and bass really saves lives. Look at the faces of the bravest that's jamming inside. Any color, any creed, any shape, any size. It's drum and bass, and we all come to have a good time. From when I was young, drum and bass always hit right. Get out your mind, lose control, and you will find drum and bass music will give you the ultimate ride. Ding dong, the jungle is vibes get done. We been listening to bass and drum from 19 long. It's still going strong. Ring, ding dong, the jungle is vibes get done. We been listening to bass and drum from 19 long. It's still going strong. The D&B scene just keeps providing. For so many years we be vibing. Sometimes a little dividing, but only for the small-minded. In the bigger picture we gotta be combining. Come together as one and keep riding. We lost so many on the way, my soul's crying. For the legends and for the soldiers and everyone that's gone too soon. I need you back in this room. Bless. Ring, ding, dong. The jungle is vibes get done. We been listening to bass and drum from 19 long. It's still going strong. Ring, ding, dong. The jungle is vibes get done. We been listening to bass and drum from 19 long. It's still going strong.
You know what? That's a powerful tune, you know.
It
It sends a big message. You know what I mean?
There's something so amazing about a track that tells a story, and it's so rare nowadays to have that there's such a powerful message through it, and it tells a story, and it
Yeah.
really makes you think. And this is an art form. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be an art form. It's supposed to emote you and resonate with you and do things to you. It's supposed to make you feel. And I love that this track does that. Do you know what I mean?
Honestly, man, it's like I
Total
could listen
summer
to this
vibes
all
as
day.
well. Total
Oh,
summer
trust
vibes as
me.
well.
But I'm guessing this is DJ Ride, and it's the same Ride that's in the chat. I mean, you need a pat on the back for this one because you absolutely smashed it.
Horn, where's the horn? For
Honestly,
him? Where's the horn? There you go. Hey. Banging.
you know what I mean? No, honestly, but on a real, yeah, this tune in the right hands could be the next summer jam. You know what I mean? It could be the next thing you're hearing on Radio 1 because it sends such a powerful message. For me, it's just like, you know, being realistic now, the mix needs tweaking. That's the only thing. If we can get the mix tweaked, then this would smash it. I can guarantee.
Let me interject there. Don't forget, if your mixing skills aren't like fantastic, amazing, but you're able to get to this level, you can always outsource your music and have someone else mix it and master it. Don't be
feel ashamed by it. Don't feel like you're not good enough.
It's not like an STD. Do you know what I mean? It's
some analogy there, you know what I mean?
Deep analogy. My point is that like for many, many years, I do that. I whilst I was working on my tracks until I got better and better and better, lots of people helped me get the sounds right, get everything right, and mastered my tracks before I was able to get them to a mix level where I just send off for mastering now. So there is absolutely no shame in that. Carry on, Dapz.
So for me, like, I noticed that the kick was a bit lumpy. I mean, it's a vocal tune. I want to concentrate on the vocal, but you know, we need the backing track in order for us to keep moving on, you know. But I had to do a boost at around, it says here about 1,200 hertz, and I think that was more of a presence boost because I just felt like there was a dip, you know, and I wanted the vocals to sort of pop through. And normally 2K is like the area to poke the vocal through, but this seemed to have worked a little bit. Let's just play the track in sides and mono because I want to kind of see what space is being taken up in places. So one sec.
Vibes get done. Even if it is a baseline drum. From 19 how long, it's still going strong. Ding dong.
Right, so basically for me then, when you play the track in mono, right, in mono, any track that goes for, you need to hear everything. Like everything needs to be identified in mono. So then when you do go to stereo, it just feels like you've got the width, the depth, that ear candy sort of surrounding you. In this case, the vocals sort of, in mono, the vocals are buried, like they're just not there. And then the minute you go to stereo, that sort of pad, that hip hop style pad, you know, that California style pad, it kind of consumes everything. It becomes noticeable that, wow, that pad, you know, the melodies is so big and wide that it's slightly detached from the rest of the tune. So I'll just play it again in mono and I'll flick to stereo and you'll know. So headphone speakers, obviously you're going to notice this massively. Stereo. So yeah, for my notes then would be turn the kick down ever so slightly. You need to bring the snare up a little more because you need to get a nice balance between the kick and the snare, and the vocals just need to punch through more. I'm just trying to think if we can just go to rebalance. You know, you'll be able to do it in rebalance. This will give you a better example of where the vocals need to sit. It wants to load up. There we go.
Vibes get done. We're listening to bass and drum. From 19 how long, it's still going strong. Ding dong.
So if I bypass it now with this vocal enhancement off,
Vibes get done. We're listening to bass and drum.
then bring it back.
19 how long, it's still going strong.
So see like how they just disappear. The vocals really need to come forwards and the kick needs to come down more. So I mean, tackle it yourself by all means. You know, I can try and give you some more personal feedback on that. I could send an email or something breaking it down, or if you need it outsourcing, I'll be more than happy to take this on, because in the right hands, this would be wicked.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, obviously, like, you can send tracks to Dapz for mastering and mixing. This is what he does all day long. The biggest thing that changed for me when I was learning to mix and master is something I teach all my students when I'm working privately with them. It's really a matter of getting into a habit of every time you have a track, you put a track on, like whatever the sound is on that track, be it a snare, be it a kick, be it a sample, cleaning that sound up as much as you can, getting rid of all the dead space, shaving off anything that's under 100 hertz that isn't needed. Do you know what I mean? And just shaving that off and cleaning, and get in the habit of doing that with each sound. And one of the things I really like to do is a little bit sometimes, especially with vocals, is a little bit of parallel processing. I might double the vocals up and put a little bit of, and I'm talking super, super slight overdrive on the vocals to make them bite and come through a little bit more. You've got to remember, you're making tracks like this with vocals, and where are they going to be heard? Spotify, Radio 1, all these platforms. You want to be able to hear all your frequencies, which is why when you're putting sub bass in a track, you want to put some kind of harmonizing note in there so that you can hear the sub bass. But with vocals, when they're vocal driven tracks, it needs to be clean. And the notes I've got here are just cleaning up the mix and making sure, let's see, for me, the drums sound a little bit like, it's all a bit muddy. So for me, it would be going through each sound, making sure everything's EQ'd properly, cutting out everything that you know don't need in that sound. And sometimes when we put effects, also putting an EQ after the effects and making sure that you are EQing the effects as well, because otherwise it becomes all a bit of a blur and a bit of a mash. So I feel that this needs a really good mix, and you've got a monster track on your hands. Well done.
Yeah, wicked. Honestly, hang on. Let me get there. You know what I mean? Wicked.
Moving on.
Okay, so so a few of you was feeling that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the comments.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So moving on, we have Machiavelli, Murder Them, Master.
Hold on, before we get into that track, there's a comment here. You spend 25, 50 quid getting it mixed and mastered, and you have a potential anthem. Whilst it's not about the money, it's about who you choose to master and mix your tracks. Just be careful about, just because a lot of people, they'll master your tracks for really cheap, and all they're doing is putting them on a preset with Isotope. Do you know what I mean? So be careful. It's not about the money. It's about knowing who masters tracks. So how do you know who's good? Okay, you could say, all right, who masters all of DJ Rap's tracks, or who masters Dimensions tracks, or find out the records that you like, the way they sound, and find out who does the work if they do it, because some people do it all themselves. And then, you know, you can always find out who's doing the work, you know. So don't just go on price. Not that that's a bad thing, but I don't want people to be influenced by how cheap or expensive something is. It's about how it sounds.
No, exactly. Because as you say, I mean, there's some people that master a single tune for double that. You know, I know there's some places that charge like literally £80 to £100 per tune, but you know, it's sort of like where you are in that sort of level or whatever. But that's not to say you have to spend that. It's getting, like Rap just said, it's getting to know who's good at what they do in that particular genre of music, or you know, whose stuff have you heard mixed, mastered by that particular engineer. You know, it's just about that. But yeah, just be careful if you're thinking like 25 quid, 30 quid to get a track mixed and mastered. I'll just be careful. That's sort of like college.
Yeah, because the people who are charging, for example, stem by stem mixing is different from getting your track mastered. So I'll send Dapz a track, it's already ready to go, and go ahead and master it. That's a flat fee. But if I send him a track and I'm like, you know, I want the stems mixed on this, then he will individually go by each stem and make sure it's mixed, EQ, done properly, blah, 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 and then do the master on the track. So, you know, it will cost more to do stem by stem, obviously. All right.
But right, you know, as I say, mate, I don't mind emailing you. You can do like a one-to-one, you know, whatever. It's so you can see what going in.
Obviously, what we're not going to do is tell you this person's good, that. But obviously, to me, there's only one person that's any good, and I've used Dapz for how many years now?
10 years.
And if you see the master on my new track that's coming out November 17th, I'm going to do a shameless plug. You're going to hear it here first, not the track, but this is the first place I've announced it. General Levy and I have finally got together in the studio, and we've done a monster track. And the track's called Life of the Party and it's dropping November the 17th, man. And of course, if you hear the master that Dapz did on this track, and we spent a lot of time mastering this track, we went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, you know, and that's what I mean. You want to work with someone you can work with and have a relationship with. Most people, they'll master your track and that's it, done. You know, they're not going to work with you. But sometimes it's like, look, we think the vocal needs a little push here, or
Yeah.
what's the issue? So, you know,
Yeah,
be
because what
careful
Rap
with
was saying is like, when we go back and forth, we're doing master. Rap will probably test it out, you know, play it out or something, and then say, "Oh, you know what? When I played it out, I feel like this needs adjusting or something." Okay.
And that's always my fault because I've mixed it incorrect. What happens is I mix the track, and then because he's done such a job with the master, it accentuates whatever is good or bad in the track, right? So sometimes I get the master back and I'll be like, oh, yeah, I need to adjust this or that or the other because I'm trying to do it as much as I can myself. So, you know, it's a process. Anyway, moving on.
Anyway.
Quit talking and start mixing.
Right, next tune with Machiavelli.
Murder Them.
Murder Them.
Yeah. It's a murder situation. Yeah. 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 Original Dandada. The friend that smoke me out, burn the fire. Original Dandada. The friend that smoke me out, burn the fire. Original Dandada. The friend that smoke me out, burn the fire. Original Dandada. The friend that smoke me out, burn the fire. Yeah. It's a murder situation. Yeah. Yeah. It's a murder situation. Yeah. Fire, fire, fire. Light up the place, mash up the place. Fire, fire, fire. Light up the place, mash up the place. Fire, fire, fire. Light up the place, mash up the place. Fire, fire, fire. Light up the place, mash up the place. Yeah. It's a murder situation. Yeah.
Wow.
Well.
So let them know. Do you want to go in first?
For me, on this track, the things that I'm listening to, I felt like before I get to mix stuff, I felt like and this is just a stylistic choice, right? But sometimes things can sound a little bit. I like the tune, by the way, love it, and I think it's got really good points. But at some points, I think you need to break it up a little bit with some turnarounds and some different drum beats, because it can get a little monotonous if it's just the same bass line and the same. So what I mean by turnarounds is that you've got 4 sections, of bars where it happens, and then suddenly at the end there's they come in. What was
sorry.
that? That's all right.
I'm
But like
trying to just
that,
do it.
you get.
Just trying to do a loop because I was thinking exactly the same thing. It needs
Yeah,
a
like
couple of like fills and stuff.
it needs some fills, needs some edits. It just needs things to keep it constantly moving. And another way you can do that is by adding a ride or a shaker in certain points. And, I'm just talking about keeping the train going. That is the track with the bass and the drums, right? So finding a way to keep it always interesting so that you can listen to it over and over again and never get bored with that section. Because there's a lot of good things in that tune.
Yeah.
But you could definitely do something with the vocal. So it goes fire, fire, fire. And then, a turn could be fire, or you could do a time stretch. There's so many ways you could do it, or with the drum beat, or whichever you want to do, or with an effect. But I would use, making a track is a lot of work. It's a lot of editing. It's a lot of work before it's finished, and there's always something interesting happening, because what you don't want, and we've got to this epidemic in music these days of people playing tunes for like 2, 4, 6 bars, and then they're on to the next one, and double dropping happens because the tune's just not interesting after that. So we want to make people play our tunes for as long as possible, because there's always something exciting happening, a feel, something like that. So I think it's really important, if you listen to old classic tracks, and I do a lot of streams where, especially on my Cool FM show, where the first hour is classics and then the second hour is modern stuff. If you listen to the tracks, they never got old. You could listen to a track for 5.5 minutes and it was just great. Do you know what I mean? It never got old and never repeated. So I'm not saying your track's boring. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying it just could do with some little interjections of fills, turnarounds, things like that. On the mix, I felt that I'll leave that to Dapz, because he knows better on the mastering side of things than I do. But I felt that drums were a bit thin. And again, some parallel processing with drums is really great, gives them a little bit of bite. So I'll put drums on one channel, and then I'll put the drums with the compression all the way up on another channel and bring that up, so it just has a nice bit of they felt a little thin to me. But what do you think, Dapz?
Yeah, I mean, you can see the EQ boost that I've added here. This is a monster boost. Yeah, so like we're looking
do an
6
AB.
dBs.
Can you do an AB? Yeah, with the boost on and the boost off, so they can see the difference.
Yeah, I'll do it just through the plugin, but I can do it as an equal before and after. But you'll get the idea anyway. So with the boost, let's turn this back up again. Then without. See, with headphones or speakers, you'll definitely notice that. But as much as a 6 dB boost there in the lows, it really needed that. The track just feels thin for a jungle tune. It's like a jungle roller, and ideally, the bass needs to come right up. It needs to be fatter. So for the bass to be that thin, it kind of leads me to believe. Is the monitoring the issue? Is it however you're monitoring it? Are you in headphones? Are you in speakers? I mean, how you listen to it, how you're producing. Are your speakers over bassy, like as in, is the room sort of like amplifying the low end? So you feel like there's more lows than what there actually is, you see. So if that's the case, I would just go to the back of the speakers or, whatever you're using, and try and do a bass cut, on a shelf to try and, balance it out and compromise. Room EQ Wizard or Sonar Works, Sound ID, all these sort of room calibrations, they do work to a degree. It depends on your room.
Well, ultimately, though, I like the headphones. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's much more expensive to go sort out big speakers and then get your room calibrated.
You're spending tens of thousands.
Just get a pair of these, which are the very top of the line headphones, Focusrite, and yeah, they're expensive. They're I think they're nearly $1,000. But I don't use speakers ever. Like, I don't need to. I literally do everything in my headphones. I use the speakers so rarely, when I just want to hear it loud now and then, or, and I'll have a bit of a laugh. But I already know how they sound, and I've got so good at using these. And, it was Exile who turned me onto these, and you, I think. And hello, Moisten, if you're in the room, by the way. I think I saw him in there. I'm not sure. But But again, the most important thing is that the vibe of the tune is really, really good. All this other stuff can be learnt and can be taught, and that's fine. The vibe
Yeah.
of the tune's really good. Just want to commend you on that. I love that.
Yeah,
Carry on.
yeah.
Sorry,
So
Dapz.
yeah, like no, it's all good. But no, you know, at the end of the day, you've already pointed out it needs a couple of fills. You know, the beat needs chopping up a little bit. But in terms of like the track itself, it's great. You know, it's really cool. The mix sounds nice and punchy. It just needs that weight to it, you know, for it to be a jungle tune or a drum and bass tune in general. The only other thing I thought of was this middle breakdown's really, really exciting. Like I like this middle break here. And I'm just thinking it needs it needs something.
I would love to have heard the time stretch. Hold on. I would love to have heard that ragga vocal time stretched over it. I would have
Yeah.
loved to have, but again, that's a stylistic choice. But you know, when you say something over
yeah,
it,
yeah. I was going to say, like, by the time it gets halfway through, the vocal comes in. I would just come with a halftime beat or just some like bashment style beat, like bum 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 while
that'd
this
be
is
sick.
doing what it's doing. Do you know what I mean? So, but this bass, it needs to be more, I don't know, not aggressive, but just more like ripping, like. See, like how that's got that fizz to it. I mean, it's the same volume. It's not changing in volume, but it's got that fizz rip to it now. Look.
Well, can you explain what you've just done so that people
So
can...
basically, I've just used it. This is a free plugin, by the way, by Analog Obsession, and it's called Pred, and it's basically it's like a, you know, like when you plug a guitar in or something into like a DI box or something. It's like a preamp. Well, it is a preamp in general, and all I'm doing is just driving like saturation, but it's a nice saturation. So if I bypass this, so loop this, see, without it, I mean, you know, we're just throwing this in there. For me, without it, it's too clean and too nicey. You know, it needs to be fuzzy. It needs to have a bit more drive, you know, to enhance it. And by doing that, you can see how like it's rippling the extra harmonics. So that would then translate really well on phones and small laptop speakers or earbuds or whatever. Especially just in general, you know, it will fill out the spectrum more, especially because there's nothing else happening, like there's no drums or anything. So for me, I like the tune. I just think you need to, you know, make it a bit more interested in terms of adding some sound effects, some liquor shots, or, you know, bits like that. And then, like Rap said, just some feels. You need some feels to keep it, you know, moving and changing and stuff. But otherwise, yeah, well done. Absolute banger. I'm just trying to
Yes,
turn that off.
absolutely. What are you trying
Right,
to
that's
turn
stuck
off?
on
The
there.
plugin?
No, I'm just trying to get, the plugin's gone in here, not onto the channel. There we
And there's
go.
a million plugins you can use to do that. You don't have to follow. Yeah, there's millions of things. Yeah, I mean, it's loads. They're all.
There is loads, but I try to use free ones for these sort of things so people can just go and grab it. It's by Analog Obsession. It's called Pred. They've got a ton of like preamps and distortion boxes. They're really cool stuff. So check it out. It's you know, well worth a look, as we say. Yeah, I did see Moisten in the wings. Big ups, bro. I hope you're good, mate. As we move. Right, so
Sorry,
next
I'm
up,
answering people in the chat. That's why I'm going
it's all
quiet.
good. It's all good. It's all good. So the next up is Induction in My Head.
We love
So-
induction. We love a bit of induction.
Yeah? Let's do this. Ready?
Let's do this.
Run the track.
My feet are made of clay, 'cause you in my head. Let's drive through city lights and take it slow. city lights and take it slow. Breathing and screaming loud. Nobody low, nobody low, nobody low, nobody low, nobody low.
What happened there?
Was on loop. Yeah, we was stuck on loop that little bit there because of messing around with the previous track. But to me, I was like, oh, he's got a nice little feel going on there. Then no, hang on a minute, that feel's going round and round. Oh my days, mate! You know already. You smashed it. Induction. Come on, man.
I just want to reply about the headphones because I never could get the spelling of these right because obviously I'm so dyslexic. Is it focus right? How
No,
do you say it?
focal clears.
How do you spell them again?
FOC.
Yeah,
Let's look on the side.
it's not though. I just looked.
Yes, yeah, it's FOCAL.
Yeah.
Focal.
Focal clear, right? Because mine says
Clears, Pro.
MG on the side, says MG or something on the side. Focal Clear Pro, something like that. Induction, your tracks are always so interesting, so beautiful, and I just absolutely just so believe you're going to be like massive, 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 massive. Just love what you're doing. So, you want to go first?
That's all I can say. That's all I can
I
say.
don't. I love how he did the bass. It's so different from anything I've heard. What have I put on here? Oh, I did put a note. I put
Okay.
that when I was listening to this, because I listen to all your tracks when you submit them on 3 different platforms. I listen to them on the turntables. I listened, not 3, 2, and then on my desktop. Because the reason so it is 3, and then on my phone as well. I want to see how they translate on these different platforms. And for me, the only thing was it felt a little bit sharp when I was listening to it on the desktop. When I turned
What
it
do you
up
mean, like
really
sharp?
loud.
Like in what way?
Highs, like the highs a
okay,
little bit.
yeah.
It was cutting a little bit too sharp on some, so be careful on that, but not much. Like I'm talking, if we're going to nitpick, then we're going to
Yeah.
nitpick, because this is a small thing that most people.
Yeah.
But to me, when you hear it like this in a speaker, sounds great and balanced. And this brings me to an important point. When you are making your tracks, I think it is absolutely crucial to test them on different platforms before you send them off to be mastered. One of the biggest things, I think it was Moisen who got me to do this, and I do this every single time, and it changed my life completely as a producer. When I finish a track, and I'm like, when I say when I finished it, not mastered, but when I finished it and I'm like, this sounds good, I hop over to the decks behind me and I mix it in with, my favorite 2 current tracks at the time that are influencing me that I'm playing all the time. So let's say you like Badidan or you like something else and you're making a jump up track. Play it between the 2 biggest tracks that are huge out there and see what happens. One, it will teach you is your arrangement right? Because sometimes what you see visually, it feels right, but then you go mix it and you might have actually, it's hard to mix. And that can be an important thing to learn. And then if the energy is going down on the track, you'll be like, this isn't as good as those. And, that's a painful thing to do, but it's honest feedback that you'll be able to give yourself because you'll see like it's not quite standing up to this track's energy. So I have to go back. I have spent months on tracks. A track with General Levy was a 3-month project. Before I was really happy with it. Believe that.
Yeah.
You can write a track in 1 day and 2 days, but sometimes it takes me 3 months to finish it. Just because I write it quickly doesn't mean I'm happy with it. It's like it's got to be tested. There's a lot of things, and now I make less tracks and put less tracks out, but when I put them out I feel like it's the best that I could possibly do.
They're more solid. Yeah, they're a lot more
They're
solid.
more solid. So don't rush your tracks. So I felt like this one had a little bit of, when I was listening to it like on the phone, it was a bit like, high and a little bit like, I call it the lemon juice squeeze, where it was a little bit tart. But apart from that, man, just make sure it's good on all platforms, that mix. And that's a mastering thing again. Over to
Yeah,
you.
the thing, yeah, I mean, for me, like, I made a mark here because as it dropped into this section here, let me just play it a minute.
Screaming slow, nobody loves, nobody loves.
It comes nicely into this Reese sort of breakdown, and I think it was on a previous show that we played one of your tracks and it kind of just went straight into the drop, and we actually commented saying it would be nice if it sort of broke down into a Reese breakdown before the drop, just so it didn't make you feel like you just, oh, okay, there's the intro, there's the drop, we're in. It's doing something interesting. Do you know what I mean? Especially in a mix point of view. You know, you've come out of the last tune now and you're into this tune, and you've kind of like set the pace, set the the tempo. So, mate, the arrangement's much better.
You are on your way to really becoming a very, very serious producer to be reckoned with. And, if you want to work really hard on your socials and make sure that your Spotify account is,
Yeah.
and I'm not a fan of not being paid. Let's just leave it there. But Spotify is important. And, for vocal tracks and people doing playlists, and your music will live there more than probably anywhere else, I would say. So make sure that you fan the flames to keep that account healthy. Make sure you do track lists. Make sure you do playlists, get involved with that. Even though it's a loveless relationship that doesn't give you back, it will eventually pay off. I think for this kind of music, it's vital you do that. And when your tracks are definitely mastered, send them to DJs like me that play liquid tracks on their Cool FM shows. Like, find the DJs that are playing these kind of tracks. Make sure you send them fully mastered great tracks, because on my Cool FM show I break it down and I do a half an hour pure the best liquid stuff that's out there, all the promos before they're dropped. So you need to also not only be good as a producer, but you also need to be good at getting your music out there to the DJs and fanning those flames on social media to make sure that you are giving your tracks the best chance to breathe and be seen by as many eyes as possible. Because let's face it, Facebook isn't on your side. Instagram, same people, ain't on your side. You build all the fans up on there and they charge you to reach your fans. You can't even put your own shop on there now. So they're not on your side. These platforms are not on your sides. Neither is, I don't care what anyone says about Spotify, not on your side. They're parasites feeding off our hard work. But it's the devil that you're in bed with. So you have to make a way to enjoy the sex you're going to have with them. That's all I can say. It makes me annoyed because we work really hard, right, to build these platforms up, to do all this work, and like they're just feeding off us, these bloodsuckers. Do you know what I mean? And not giving us access to our fans or helping us promote. I mean, Spotify is like, yeah, put your merch up, and and look at the app. It doesn't even frigging work. All right, I'll stop moaning.
But yeah, that's all now for another video.
No, but
Talking and start mixing.
Enough said. Say nothing.
But no, just quickly, just wanted to just highlight something. So if we was to nitpick, right, there is some sort of low frequencies going off which are that low that it's just unnecessary. It's not something that I'm picking up on in the headphones or anything like that, just as a visual thing. And this nausea thing, this nausea spectrum analyzer is really cool for those that don't know about it. Obviously look out for it on the Black Friday for November, because it's well worth getting. I got it when it was dirt cheap when it first came out. But anyway, so if we just quickly play the tune, look at the low frequencies sort of like hammering from like 20 hertz, 10 hertz. I mean, 10 hertz is pointless in any tune, might be people saying why, but there's no speaker out there that can reproduce any frequencies below 10 hertz, so it's really pointless.
Just get in the habit of trimming your sounds. The moment on your channels as a preset, like when I open Ableton, it's already got an EQ on there, it's got the fab filter, whatever your EQ, whether it's in stock plugins, have it so it's set up so you've always got an EQ on there, and then just shave off, because it's not going to hear it. Just to shave
it off, and then once you have sort of shaped it by removing or trimming, whatever you want to call it, then remember, obviously, I know Induction, he then starts looking at the phase relationship between the kick and the bass, or the sub, which is very important, especially for this style of music, in order to get it loud. But anyway, just as a quick visual look, not saying it has to look like anything specific, but what this is pointing at is what is happening down there. So let's quickly play.
90 an hour and the wind in my hair.
I'm not saying it has to adhere to this this sort of curve, but this is a good sort of curve to visually compare to, as it's, you know, it's kind of in the ballpark. But as you can see,
And we're
let's see
being
if I can-
super
yeah,
nitpicky.
I'm being super nitpicky here, because sometimes you need that. You know, you need to be told certain things. But
And also put your favourite tune in that's similar in the sense of a liquid track that you love, and look at the analyzers of an AB. Like what is it? You know, if
what's it
there's
doing?
what's it doing, so you can sort of see the shape, and you know it gives you an
Yeah,
idea. Of
that's
where
the other thing as well. Looking at the shape. So if I just flip it around like this, I'll show you what I mean.
My feet are made of clay 'cause you in my head.
See here, look, see how it kinks and it goes back up. It's as if the low end starts to roll off at 30 hertz, which is all right, but then it starts coming back up again. And that might be some sort of intersample modulation. It might be some phase. I don't know, but
I bet you it's
definitely,
phased.
yeah, it's something which is then adding lower frequencies. And as I say, you know, I'm right down here at like 17 hertz, 16 hertz. You know, I've got this set up to not show me anything below 10 because, as I say, there's not much point. But as this is rising up, it leads me to believe that there's something happening down there. It's not audible, but it may cause some sort of like problem in the mastering stage, because, you know, let's face it, this style of music needs to be loud, but loud in a way where it's still punchy and it still has like that feel of dynamics. But I don't know if that's going to cause a problem. Like, it might start consuming some of the headroom, but that's a minor thing, you know. That's a minor thing. I think it's a case of just going back to the mix, start solo in the kick, in the bass, have a look on the analyzer, make a few adjustments. Has it changed? I don't know, because these are going to be changes which are inaudible, but they might be a small thing that's going to be a big outcome in the final master. That's the only thing. If, you know, for me, if it was the only copy in the world, I would simply do a cut in RX, not by using any EQ or any like Pro Q3 or anything like that. I would physically use Ozone's RX, and I would do it in there, because they've got these really crazy filters and stuff, and it does not change the phase, and it does not impede on anything in terms of changing the wave. You know, it's been tried and tested for years. So that's my
Alrighty.
2 cents. That's me in a nutshell.
Let's go to the next track then. What's that? Thunderstruck.
Thunderstruck. Yeah. So this looks like a
Drop it.
pre-master. So let's do this. Let's do this.
Need I remind you that it's an act of treason to withhold information from me relative to this matter, regardless of how classified it is? Same goes for you. Whatever the foreign ministry's wishes, this falls within Section 9's jurisdiction. Of course, we have no objections to cooperating if we feel there's adequate cause. Huh?
Well, what is it? It's confirmed. No doubt, it's him.
Him?
The doctor is referring to the original pattern of the ghost line that's now in the body. He's simply speaking in generic terms. The sex of the perpetrator isn't known and remains undetermined. Allow me to introduce you. This is the handiwork of the puppet master, infamous as the most extraordinary hacker in the history of cybercrime.
Wow. I'll go first.
Vibes. Yeah, vibes. Go, go, go.
Okay, because I'll forget otherwise. So that bit where it comes in with a set you free and that
Yeah.
Reese, massive. Can I have a horn sound for that, please? Because
Massive.
that bit, that's your hook of your song, but you've gone and put 3 different tracks in there. But that's okay, we can work with this. So the important thing is you've got the best bit of the track there, right? And that is absolutely huge. And if it was me, I would build the track around that lick. The set me free vocal is a mess. Sorry, cats are just gathering and dogs. That's the hook right there. The set me free. You can easily do something like the set me free, 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 free. Stutter, use something like Effectrix or something like that, or something, a stutter plugin. But that is your hook right there. And that re-space. For me, all you need to do is start that bass filtered, slowly, bringing it up, filter, open the filter, and then just bring the drums up and slam. And you've done way too much work than you need to. But if you are, no, go away DJ Rap, I want it to sound this way, then what I would suggest is smoothing out those transitions. You've got a loop when it starts where the Reese just stops and you go into an 8-bar drop or something else. But actually the 8 bars after that would have been the better drop to have fallen into if you are going to use that other place. Because it's a bit like that Messiah track, right? Conflict. It's got that sort of vibe, So carry on elements, the set me free vocal over those other bits so that they all marry together so that the track makes sense. And it's not just like, here's this section and here's this section and here is this section. You want to make sure you have all the vocals and it be coherent all the way through, right? So for example, if you've got set me free and then you can you drop into the bit at the beginning of the track right after the Reese where it just it's sort of after the Reese bass line kicks in, it drops into another...
Of the drop, the main drop, or when it switches?
Yeah.
History of cybercrime.
Oh, stop. Oh. Oh, so that filter, that's going to be painful. That, what's that called? What's that thing?
Like a phase
Like
or
a
a flange
phase.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, really work on that in the mix because that is way too sharp. It will hurt people's ears and yours, hun. But I love this track. It's got so much potential to be just massive, like massive. So yeah, sorry. Okay, back to my other point before I got distracted because I'm like anything shiny. So where the Reese bass line comes in, where the Reese bass line comes in, and then it goes into another section, and then it goes into another section after that. For me, I would keep just playing with the Reese, filtering it down, putting a filter on top of it, and you could just make the whole tune based off that section. But if you are going to go into another section, it wasn't the one that went right after it. Can you drop into the section that I'm talking about? So go from right towards where the drop is with the Reese, and it goes into another section. Let's just hear it again.
So that's sort of like the Reese
drop,
on the first bit.
Yeah,
and then it goes here.
Put a filter on that, so it creeps up,
Yeah, so it moves. That's where you want the flange or very, very subtle sort of phase, so it feels like it's rotating. It's just. I mean, we could try it in a minute while we play it, but. So I'm saying.
Keep going.
Then the switch.
So hold on, stop. So where it goes, dunga dunga dunga, set me free. Bring that vocal back in there,
Yeah, I hear that.
Anyway, my point is, look, there's 2 ways you can do this. You can just stick to the Reese bass line and with the cunning use of filters, like keep that moving and interesting, which is all this needs, really, honestly. But if you want to go to those other bits, make them cohesive by the use of the vocals. Do you know what I mean? So that you've got bits of those coming in and then you can bring that Reese back in slowly and back in and out. It's all about teasing. I tease you with it. I give you it. I take it back. I tease you with it. That's how this is. It's one of those tracks. I think this track's got so much potential. I absolutely love it. Put a filter on that Reese when it first comes in, when it's on its own, can you? Just there, like auto filter, any filter, right?
Yeah, just some sort of like, we'll try something.
And then open up the filter and you'll see what I'm talking about. Which is No, I
obviously
don't.
not with
not-
that much depth.
Not a phaser.
Oh, you mean like a sweep
No,
sort of
yeah,
thing?
or put an EQ and just cut off the tops. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
just
But
so
I
he
do
can.
I do like this is what I had in mind. Like it needed some sort
Yes,
of movement. Yeah, I'm gonna get the EQ in
but
there.
hold on a minute. But ladies first. I'm just excited because I love this track so much. I want to make sure that just on simple terms before we get to Dapz heavy plugins, the world of technology, like you could just simply just use an EQ, and I'm just showing you basic stuff first before we let Dapz get into all complicated. Go on,
Just like as a sweep, like.
yeah, as a sweep. Just
And then the
doing
opposite
that.
way.
Just doing that, or starting with a low sweep going to the top. The other way
Yeah,
is
the other way.
Start the other way.
Oh, okay. So like.
Anyway, yeah.
Come on,
that's
stop.
good.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's sort of what we're talking about. Different ways to play with the filter. I just put an auto filter on there and just tried everything. But what you could do is have that vehicle. Let me free, and then you could just keep playing with this. You've got the magic is right there. The hit part of the song is right there. You just need some audio jitsu to make it
Yeah, it
absolutely
does.
right. That's it. Over to you, Dapz.
No, you've said a lot of the stuff that I was thinking about. There's 2 or 3 tunes that could be pulled apart in here.
Good job.
For me, it's everything's there plus more. If the arrangement was just rejigged and a couple of bits here and there was sort of spiced up a little bit, it would be an
Transition.
absolute it'd just be a smasher.
Be huge. That vocal's so good. You just need to work on your transitions and arrangement. And look, if you sent this to me, I'd have this fixed in like probably 10 minutes, and I'll send it
Yeah.
back to you. But because it's worth doing it. But I'm very busy.
No, it's true. But again, like this middle bit here, although this part of the bass line is absolutely wicked, it just feels too dry. So see, once that that texture or the atmosphere finishes, it's just the bass on its own. Look.
Yeah, you can't do that. There's a thing called perceived silence. I'm glad you brought this up. Perceived silence is like where you think that there's not a lot going in a track, but actually if you listen to a lot of tracks that have these big breakdowns where nothing's happening, there is some foley, there is some sort of sound in the back that just fills up that frequency a little bit. I'm not talking about obvious stuff, but it could be the reverb from the vocal just carrying over. It could be the reverb
exactly.
from the bass carrying over. To me, that needs some effects. It needs some reverse stuff. It needs something like da 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 shh.
Yeah, it needs
And going
something
into
to keep
that,
it
yeah.
interesting. Like,
You
for
need-
example, you could just
Wait,
use
he needs
a
a
verb.
rattlesnake. He needs a rattlesnake in there. That's what you need. A little bit of a rattlesnake, like
Put
some
a
of
little
that stuff.
rattle in there. So
Put a
check
rattle
it with the
in
reverb. Look. But
You know
the
what?
thing is,
Can I just say something? Sorry, Dapz, to
Yeah.
interrupt. Just 1 second. In all honesty, what that needs is that vocal being reversed. So, you put some of that stuff in
Yeah.
there. These are all ideas. They're not. I'm not saying you need
that's
to
a good
do
idea,
this.
actually.
That's why they pay me
But
the
no,
big
that's a good
bucks.
idea. No, because that's what I'm saying. Sometimes, like, you say certain things, and I just sit here like the cogs are turning, and I'm like, oh yeah, say something, because I'm just thinking. But for me, let's just go back to this. I got these wrong way around. Although this is gritty, this part of the bass, I would still grit it out more. Like,
That's it.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and it needs the verb in there to give it the depth. It needs the verb. And what I've done with the with this reverb here is I've cut up to 300 hertz. So anything below 300 hertz is not passing through. So before anybody starts, yeah, but you can't put reverbs on basses. We're just throwing it out there and giving you a quick tip. You know what I mean? A quick idea. So see, just there, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's where you need that snake. 'Cause do you see what I'm saying?
We love this track. Obviously, we love all these tracks, but I'm just, when we get excited, it's because it's so there. You can just reach out. So it just needs a little
Yeah,
bit, you know, of
yeah.
finagling, and you'll be good to go, mate. Don't give up. I love that track. And you got 3 tracks there. You could honestly
You
just pull this.
honestly,
You could pull this off with just manipulation and some modulation of the respace and that, and you'd be
yeah.
good to go. And then send it to me as a demo, and we'll see.
And then send it
All
to
right.
me so I can go and play it.
I'll send it to him to master if I sign it. Trust me.
No, but
Set me
honestly,
free.
like, yeah, it's true. It's true. I don't
love
know how
that.
you'd. Well, I don't know how you'd get away with the vocal, but you know, because where I
Whose
mean, the
vocal is
vocals.
it?
It sounds like it's from an old. Oh my God, what are they called? Baby
Where,
D. Sounds like from
where,
an old Baby D song.
where did you get
Set
the
me
record?
free.
No, loads of people sung. Even I sung that in Divine Rhythm, the opposite side. I was like, set me free. I mean, that's not hard to get someone to re-sing, is it?
Oh no, of course, yeah, you know what I mean. Just you can get anyone to do it, but no, like
All
in a
right.
nutshell, you know, use some of those fills. How the tune it switches, use that as a fill, and come back round like you said into the vocal. So
These
absolutely wicked.
little English expressions you have, my friend, in a nutshell, like, where did that come from? Anyway, moving on. Enough
That's
talk.
interesting.
In a
Interesting.
nutshell.
Right. So where are we? Have I lost the?
We're
What was that tune? Oh yeah, we're on number 6.
Yeah,
Number 6 in the mix.
Beats
As
original.
we get down, yeah, Beats original. Yeah. So
Run the track! Run the track! Run the track! Run the track!
Run it.
Run the motherfucking rhythm.
Into the silent nothingness.
But have you ever thought, what if this is all just a dream?
Deep into the silent nothingness.
But have you ever thought, what if this is all just a dream?
Oh,
Deep into the silent nothingness.
But have you ever thought, what if this is all just a dream?
To the silent nothingness.
love that.
you love that one. You love that. Okay, Rap. Do you want me to go in?
Well, I think we both were messaging each other because we were writing our notes and comparing them, weren't we? And we both came
Yeah.
out with the same thing.
Similar things.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
no, you go in, because like, you know, I've already just kind of demonstrated here the tonal differences, what need to be done. But
No, we
yeah,
need to get into that. I do love the bass line. I think the bass line's really strong, and again, could be the main feature of your track. And you've got some modulation going on there. That's cool. I'll let Dapz do all the mix stuff on this particular track. For me, and we both texted each other at the same time on the private chat, pitchy. And what we meant by that is that some of your samples are out of key with the track. So your pitch is very, especially in the beginning. Let's go to the beginning.
yeah, it's just that
Run the
guitar I was
rhythm.
looking at.
Cool.
Might be on the next time round.
Cool.
There we go.
Stop the track. Stop the track.
Stop the track.
Not cool. So listen, the beginning bit's all you need. You don't need that guitar bit in there for a start. It doesn't really do anything for the track, but it is jarring because it's a completely different pitch key to the track. Yeah. So again, simplicity is the key. Do you remember, I think I've shared this story with you guys a long time ago. For those of you who knows, Ronnie Sides gave me a tip like 30 years ago, whatever, and he goes, when he makes a track, he puts a track on in a loop, 16 bar loop, and if he's brushing his teeth, doing his thing, whatever, and coming back and he's still not bored of that lick, he knows that the tune is worth like building on. Okay, so if you've got that strong Reese, work backwards from the Reese and put everything. So if you've got your bass and your drums and they're working, right? Now you can add elements just to an 8-bar loop, and you can then build your track around that. What I'm seeing a lot of here, and what I suspect is happening, is that you're making the tune and then you're going to look for bits to add afterwards, or you're starting with bits in the beginning and then you're doing the bass line. But if you start in a loop and make everything fit so it's cohesive in that loop, and then pull those elements out and say, right, I'm going to use that bit now for the intro, I'm going to use this bit, blah, blah, blah. Simplicity is the key. You don't need to throw in 1,000 things to make a track. You can just have 10 great sounds and that can be it. So for me, it's like you've got the hook there, love the bass line, super, super strong, Make sure that when you're using splice, or when you're using what's the other one that people use all the time? Oh, I use it and I've forgotten. Damn it.
See, I'm not a tune maker anymore,
I'm
so I'm just out of the loop.
I'm just saying, if you're making tunes and looking for samples, you can put the key in when you're searching these samples. Do you know what I mean? So if you look at your bass line and it's an E, and you're going to splice and you're looking for some Foley or some sounds or whatever you're looking for, put the key in to make sure you're in the right key. And if you're not sure what key your track is in, you can just pull up a keyboard or anything and hum the bass line until you find the key that works. If you've got no musical experience whatsoever, there's a thing called dissonance. You'll hear it if it's right, and you'll hear it, or you feel it in your chest. You'll be like, okay, so the bass line is okay, so find the note that matches on your keyboard, and it will tell you, and you can look it up and Google it, be like, oh, this isn't D. Or
Reaper tells you the key of the sample as well.
Well, there's plugins. Yeah, there's
No,
plugins.
I'm just joking.
No.
So carry on.
But no, you're right. And actually, that's a really good point. If you're in Ableton and you pull up a Spectrum, it will tell you what key it's in. If you're, there's loads of plugins with every
there's
door.
things,
Whatever door you're using, Spectrum will tell you the key, the note, the frequency, all of that stuff. Do you know what I mean? So all these plugins do that. But knowing what works tuning-wise is really, really, really important. So I can tell by listening to your tune how much musical classical training you've had, how much you've not had, whatever, and that's fine. You don't need any, but things do need to be in tune. What else did I put on here? I again love the bass line, love the drum. Again, turnarounds, keeping it interesting, using that one hook. I think a lot of people in here, today's theme seems to be how to keep one thing interesting, by turnarounds, by effects, by drum turnarounds, by vocal chopping. That seems to be the theme of today's this reoccurring thing that we're seeing a lot. What do you think, Dapz? Over to you.
No, absolutely. I really love this sort of kettle drum, this tribal section of the tune. I thought this is brilliant. This bit here. When you came into this, I was like, okay.
Again, I would thread that vocal into it because it was a bit of a sudden change, So
do something with it.
doondle, doondle, doondle. You know, look, doondling is not a great tune, but the point is, it's like you want to make sure things are cohesive, or if you don't want to do that, you could have done big reverb splash over that bit. You know, a million ways to do it, right? You're a producer, pick
Course.
one. But at the end of the day, like I think these turnarounds are great, but they do need cohesiveness. Otherwise, you were just dropping from one thing to another. So a lot of, you know what? Okay, you won't know. You guys are guys, but okay, if you go to a hairdresser and get your hair done, right? Even if you're a guy, they'll put layers in there, and the reason they put layers and then trim those layers is so that it doesn't just look like a cut and then another cut and another cut, right? You've got to always blend. I
I thought
don't know
you
if
said
that
something
helped.
else then. I thought you said
What?
something.
Why? We won't go there. Too much talking.
So what I was saying is yeah, when it came into this tribal bit here, it really kind of keeps you on edge. You know, it's like a nice suspense. I love that sort of filter there. It's quite nice.
Very cool. That's it.
Again, all the elements are there. It's the mix. That's all what's wrong with this tune is the mix. You've got the reese, you've got a nice punchy snare, and I can actually see the fundamental of the snare here, this orange blob. Here, look. Just the problem is the snare's not got enough brightness to it. So you can't, I can't.
Parallel processing. Can you show them that blob so they know what you're talking about? Because that does look like a fetus, and it would be great if you could explain.
So
to people what
basically,
they're
like
looking at.
you've got this blob. If you hopefully you can see it. So you got like this one here, this one here, this one here. That's the snare fundamental of the track. Look. So if you look here, you can see it in line with every time it moves. So here, I'll exaggerate.
Yeah.
Really exaggerate, look. So see now it's glowing red, right?
You want that snare to hit you on the
Yeah.
face like a wet fish.
It is.
It needs to be hard.
Now, exactly. So see now, it's... the thing with this tune, right, is that you've got all the elements, as I was saying, but the mix is key in this tune. So the bass is not... It's not full, you know what I mean? Like there is bass, there's weight there, but it's not consistent. It's not in its own area. And with the snare, as I say, the snare needs more tops, but you've got these hi-hats that are masking the snare. So it's kind of like you may have sat there and perceived it as, oh, it's sounding dull. I need to whack some hats in there, or turn the hats up. And it wasn't. It was more the snare needed to be brighter in order to get that perception of brightness. Because if you listen to the snare, look. Now I'm going to make a boost, and you've got to try and ignore the hats because there's no way I can do it without, you know, messing with the hats as well. See, the snare needs to be out like that, open. So it's like psh, rather than doop, doop. It needs to have the psh to it as well. So without it, see what I'm saying? See what I'm saying?
When you say the bass wasn't there, do you mean that he doesn't have enough sub on the reese, or what did you mean by that? So I understand.
So again, just an easy way, because as you know, I'm more visual. I can, especially with spectrograms, playing the tune. Look, I'll show you. See all this orange sort of blobs, which they're not consistent notes. They're like bits. Do you see what I'm saying? Like a bass line should just be one note, and then if you cite, yeah, so I'm saying, and it should be like one consistent line. Do you know? It should just go all the way across.
I mean, because I don't know how to read these spectrographs that he's got up there, so I'm just want him to explain it so everyone can understand. But what you could do, and I don't know what DAW you're using, but in Ableton you can have a rack basically, and you can split it like a multi, you know, you could have like your one side of your bass, and then you have the other part which is EQ, so it's just like a multi-band, right? So
Yeah.
you've just got the sub, you can make a sub out of the Reese, and then you've got one layer which is the top layer, and then just EQ the top, so you can
Yeah.
make you like a multi-band where you EQ the
Yeah.
bottom, the middle, and
I'll
the
I'll
top.
show you now. Look, I'll show you. So basically,
Thank you.
the problems occurring, I believe, because of phase. Like there's some phase issues going on here because your snare, you can see like there's nothing there below the snare, as in like there's no bass. So your snare is just in its own world. It's lovely. It's not interfering with anything, but your kick and the bass, they're not like visually, right? They're not dominant in the tune. It's not like consistent sound. So if we just solo this, you know, this should be glowing red, like it should be like fat as hell. So if we just slam the absolute crap out of this, and what I mean by slam it is I'm just compressing like at a 30-to-1 ratio, which is near limiting. The quick attack, because obviously you want it to grab the sound, and a really long release. Try and go by the time of the tune. Now if we use makeup gain on this, let's bring it back.
I'm scared we're going to get different.
And then there's another part to this now that we need.
Are you just basically trying to show him how to make his bass fat?
Yeah, so I've just compressed the whole low end of his tune, and it feels warmer because there's less movement. Like there's less like, oh, it's gone quiet, it's gone loud, it's gone quiet, it's gone loud. I've like made it pinned. I've just pinned it so that it's just there. Do you know what I mean?
You want it to be like a wall, you know, of that sound. But you know, one thing that's good to do if you're using Serum or whatever you're using to make your bass sounds is, you know, you could just have a sub underneath, or you could have the sound that you made, double the track over, and then just have the sub of the Serum playing. So you cut off like the main parts of this, you know, oscillator like A and B, and you've just got the sub playing of that sound. And then you on the other channel, you've got the actual sound that you're using, and you just EQ the sub off or turn the sub off. Do you know what I mean? And then you can mix the sub nicely in with that bass. I always have a sub on top of mine. I never use just the bass sound. I always have a sub on as a layer.
And but check this now. Look, so using this toucan, this is again, if you're a Reaper user, these are free. These are all free plugins as an extension, so you can download them and install them. But this
He's using Studio One.
I was using Studio One, so I don't think you'll be able to use this particular thing, but there is things like Waves R bass. Waves R bass will do the same thing as well, where basically most things like you know, like exciters and saturators, they will duplicate the frequency. So 100 hertz becomes 200 hertz and 400 hertz and 800 hertz, as in harmonic content. This goes the opposite way. So if you pin this to say 100 hertz, it will replicate it down at 50 hertz. So that if your tune's missing the sub because of the key, because sometimes you can make a tune in a high key and there's bass, but you go, oh, but there is no bass. It feels like there's no bass. What am I supposed to do? Drop an octave in, and it sounds crap. But using something like this, that will create a lower, like harmonic bit of audio. It will fill out that space. So if I'm just soloing this lower octave now, and see, look, I mean, it's ridiculous, I know, but it's just to show you my point. So if we play that now. And then we bypass everything. Put it back. We've lost all the top end because where's it gone? I'm trying to reduce the top end.
You can't mix the whole track.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to reduce the top end because of that. And, you know, I showed you that thing about the snare here, where it needed to come up. But yeah, as I say, just this off by itself. See, that's just with the EQ off. See, that's all it is. Everything's there. It just needs a really good mix. That's all. Bring everything out.
Good job.
Yep. Awesome.
Awesome.
Right. Moving on then. Moving on. So, where are we? Let's have a look. Track number 7. We move on to Intense Complex.
Nothing sounds crap Okay, I don't know where that's coming from, but everything sounds good, and the level of tunes that we're hearing tonight are really astonishing. You guys are just getting better and better and better at what you're doing, and it's really nice to see that. Sounds really, really good. So keep up the hard work, you guys.
Yeah, big. Right, Intense Complex. I see you in the chat, bro. You're up next. Let's go.
Okay, let's cut the track. That's cool. I have to say something here because I need to say it. I don't know if you were joking, but who said that the mix was crap? I hope that was a joke, because if that wasn't a joke, I'm going to block you. Don't do that. I don't like it. No need to be rude. I'm not having it. That's the one rule we have on this thing. Dapz and I give our time, and we want to create a nice space and a nice community. So if you've got something horrible to say, you can just fuck off. I'm not having it on here. All right? That's it. And I'm going to say that once. And if it carries on, we won't do any more of these. So look out for each other. Be nice, but don't be dicks. All right? I'm not having it. Sorry, but it has to be said. Fucking... Anyway, let's review
So,
this tune and move on. 'Cause I'm upset now.
Sorry. So basically, someone already said, like, the tempo of this tune is like you're gonna have a heart attack. It is proper tempo-ish. So what is the tempo of this tune? I'm quite interested, actually, of knowing. Is it like a 180 or 190, something like that? The other thing is, I mean, the tune, you've got all the ingredients, you've got all the elements going off in the tune. I just feel like there's no solid bass line in there. You can see by the colour of the tune, there's no like low frequencies, which is cool. You don't have to, there's no set rule that it has to. I can see this like as an advert sort of, like for TikTok or something, like a background song, those sort of things. I think this could work in that sort of industry. I'll play the track in sides. I'm interested to hear what's happening in mono and sides and stuff like that. So 1 second, just give us back a volume. Because it's an MP3, you've got that wishy-washy stuff. So yeah, with this harp section here, I think it's the same section. See, I like the drums. I like what you're doing here with the drums. It does feel kind of like V-record, like the 90s style V-recordings feel, DJ Die and, all that sort of stuff. I think the harp's just a little bit too loud, to be fair. But as I say, depending on the direction you're going with this tune, I'd imagine that's the reasons why you've gone about it in the way you have. Because as I say, for me, there is no sub or bass. There's no melody other than the harp and the bits and the pads and stuff you got going on. So it'll be interesting to know what the format or what the purpose of the tune was for. And then if you're still in the chat, Madij, or 188,
I think, like, having listened to a few tunes from this producer, I feel like he sort of lives in his own world, which is really interesting. If you listen to Aphex Twin and other people who have their own style, I think that's really cool. And I actually really like the speed of the track. I think there's nothing wrong with the track being different. I think that probably this sort of music is great for film, gaming, something different. Obviously, it's not typical. But there's no
dance floor or anything like that. Yeah, that's what I was saying. For TikTok and stuff.
I don't have a problem with that because we need creative music to fill all the things we do in our world, and for film and composure, that's really cool. The one thing I would say is some of the parts got a little bit repetitive and were a little bit overwhelming, so you want to make sure again that they're smooth and cohesive and that they all flow into each other. But for me, it did tell quite a story. Like you could imagine, I texted Dapz when we were doing the chat, and I said I feel like I'm on another planet, but that's not a bad thing. It's like it took me to another place, it transported me, and I quite like that. So I don't mind when things sound really different. I mean, like I said, I'll point up people like Aphex Twin all the time. They've got their own vibe, and that's cool. And everything that Dapz said, maybe it just isn't a track that needs a heavy bass. I think it's its own little world and its own little vibe. And again, without knowing what your influences are or where you feel you're going to be, like you may be a big film buff that's really into film music, and that's cool. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's cool.
Yeah, no, as I say, I mean, you've just said that you make breakcore now, so I'd be really interested to hear that, because obviously it seems like you like the speed, that sort of momentum. So that'd be interesting to hear some of that, mate. But yeah, otherwise, it is a tune in itself. As I say, it's good to jam. It's good to just do anything.
Yeah.
So there was another question. Hang on, there was something. Is it better to send tracks as MP3 or WAV? I mean, if you are going to send an MP3, just send it as a 320. There is no problem with sending a 320 MP3, just nothing less, because you do start getting that wishy-washy.
Are they talking about to submit tracks?
I think for submitting tracks in general, yeah. Like WAV, preferably WAV or MP3, it doesn't really matter.
Can we also talk about links, just to make sure, because a lot of times we get tracks from you guys and they're just SoundCloud and you can't download it. So we need to be able to download the track, So make sure you either send it a Google link is best, because we don't want a WeTransfer that's expired. So if you send a track now to us, I might not listen to it until nearer November time. So maybe, here's the best way to do it. Sign up on the link that's pinned there. Go to my website, just go to djrap.com. There's a link there on the pinned messages, and you sign up to the newsletter, and you will get a newsletter from us saying we're doing Open the Door on this date, and then feel free to submit away. Do you know what I mean? And submit your links to us, and that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Nice.
Right, okay. Yeah, I was just reading some more of the messages. Right. So, as we move on to the last two, we're doing all right actually here. So, what have we got then? Is it Cyclone?
Let's have a look. Oh, I think so. Yeah. Yes, it is.
Cyclone, right. So, only one thing to do.
Run the track! Run the track! Run the track!
Wicked. I love that track.
It brings you back. It brings you back.
It brings you
Good
back.
feeling. It's a
But-
lovely feeling tune.
Put me back in a good mood. I like that. It's really beautiful, that riff, and it just shows you how you can listen to one thing over and over again. That is a perfect riff that you just never get sick of. Now, are
Yeah.
there things that we could do to keep that interesting and moving? Sure, we could do that. But to me, but most of the time, I could listen to that probably for a really long time before I got bored of it, because I thought
Yeah.
it was such a
Just
strong
kept going, just
riff.
rolling,
Kept going. It was
rolling.
beautiful. So you could keep it like that and keep it rolling and not really change much with the arrangement. Again, this would be a producer choice, stylistic choice. For me, there would be more arrangement stuff that I'd like to do in there, like stopping everything, having the vocal, just that riff, filtering the riff, some modulation on it, maybe a filtered version of that beat to bring it back in, like, and then cyclone, shoom, dum, dum, dum. You know, filter. There's just things to play with within the elements that you've already got there. I think would be some small changes that I would make there. But overall, man, you know, like it's also one of them things. Like I would leave it as it is. It's gorgeous. Do you know what I mean? So it's just a simply gorgeous track, but. Probably for me a few arrangement bits in there and just some transition work needed, but I mean, what do you think, Dapz?
Yeah, I mean, when it got, I mean, the whole intro, like you say, we kept listening pretty much throughout the tune, and it didn't get boring, as you say. So beautiful tune, all the elements are there. I just think, like you just said, I mean, it's crazy because we're thinking of the same things, and if I go first, I'm saying it, and you go first, you say it. So it's hard to sort of jump off the back of each other sometimes.
Yeah, but it's just things like adding elements, you know, like
that's what it is.
A ride. There's a trick that I use in Ableton. I don't know if you guys use Ableton, but when you go to the loop function, you put it on beats, and then you can in the beat you can make the beat tiny and cut it into a smaller version. So a beat that goes boom ba boom bam becomes and smaller.
Oh, like
and,
it gates it.
Yeah, it gates
like
it.
A gate, yeah.
Yeah, that's a better way. Thank you for helping me use my words.
That's so good.
But basically, you know, you can use that to intro things and to make the sound smaller and bigger and things like that. But you could also do that with hats. So for one section of the tune, you could have a hat that goes, you know, an open hat that goes tss, 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 or a ride, whatever. But then you could gate it so a section of the tune gets small, and then it feels like it gives the illusion of the tune picking up, you know, and
like
evolving.
a change of gear.
Yeah, so I think for this, it just needs to keep evolving, but not by adding more sounds in there, by just working with what you've got, really, you know?
Yeah,
and
I mean, sorry, I was going to say, like, you know this bit here where it comes into the bass? Hang on, we need some volume. So this is lovely, yeah? And then just as it comes into the drums... Maybe, I was thinking maybe you didn't need a part of the bass line just before it drops. So you imagine, like, where's the drop? So lose this B line here, as in just this time round. So it does the vocal sample cyclone, and then it's like, so you imagine, and then no B line on this time, and then it's. Just so it kind of feels like something's... impacts. Yeah, it gives you that feeling of change, and then you're back in again, but nothing really has changed. All you've done is took away an element, and then, you know, it's helped you mentally, perceptionally go, oh, okay, you know, we're on the drop now. Do you know what I mean?
One of the things that's really cool to use is your locators. I don't know what DAW you're all using, but one of the things I like to do when I'm doing a track is I'll put my locators and I'll mute everything in the locator except for the vocal, and then I'll just add if there should be a little reverse sound or whatever.
Yeah.
But sometimes you could just use your locators at these turnarounds and mute everything that's happening, and because the notes are in the silence sometimes. It's like you can have so much effect if you just drop out everything and let the vocal just carry it over for that second, like Dapz is saying. Great idea that he had, you know. So little things like that just to keep that impact coming in. Or you could have gated the beat so it goes and comes in slowly.
Or
then
even like a drum fill, you know, like like from an old...
Million ways to go.
You could just, you know, get some old drum fill, like even a reggae fill or anything, you know, anything from a Motown track where it's just a fill, some... Barry White business, dig, 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 and then it comes in. You know,
I mean, there's a million ways. We don't want to tell you how to make a track.
No, exactly. But I just thought of an idea of a way I might be able to do it. So it'd be like, you see what I'm saying? That kind of, so it kind of filtered it out. But other than that, it's solid tune. I've just sort of added a bit of presence in the high mids. The reason why I did that was purely for the drums. I just felt like the snare needed to sort of come forwards a little more. Let's just play it a minute. See, lovely sides here, you know, nice bit of energy. But again, as soon as we switch to mono, they disappear. So in stereo, they'll sound great. But in mono, they've kind of disappeared. So whether you've used some sort of widener or stereo imaging and it's pulling it apart, it might already be a stereo sound. So what you're doing is you're telling a stereo sound to be even more stereo, so it creates a phase in mono.
I mean, you'd be surprised how just putting a little bit of overdrive on a sound and doing some parallel, work with it will change that around and make it. I mean, I use racks in Ableton, so an audio effect rack. You have the dry signal, and then underneath you create a chain, and then basically you drop overdrive in that chain and EQ it, and so you end up with this really full sound that's presence, because sometimes it just needs to cut through the mix a little bit.
Yeah,
Apart from
that's
that,
all it
lovely
is.
work.
Yeah, honestly, absolutely wicked. But as I say, when it comes to doing stereo imaging, you can get carried away and think, oh, this sounds great, but you're best off getting the balance in mono right, as in get a good balance in mono and then start bringing back the stereo, because then that will jump out to you and you'll be like, wow, was it really that loud? So right, so
I think we have a couple of tunes we can squeeze in. Yeah, or
you've got the last one now.
Are we? Oh, we've got one more. So if you've got any questions after we've listened to this track, drop them in the comment box, and they don't have to be related to mixing. It could be to anything to do with music. You could have a question about DJing agents, anything you want. Drop it in after we've listened to this last one, and we'll get to your questions or whatever questions you have. Run the rhythm.
Okie dokie.
Run the track, run the track, run the track.
Who is this? By the way, who is this?
Oh yeah, who is it? So, Call You. It's just called Call You, and it looks like there's other tunes being played with it. So let's just make sure everything's muted.
We've got two tracks. We've got Tidy Heidi and we've got Call You.
Right. You know what? I think Tidy Heidi might need to be dropped back in again, because Cat Jammer crashed. It crashed Reaper, if you remember, at the beginning. So, right. So let's go. Call You.
Might need to turn that up a bit, Dapz.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's because it looks like a big wave, but yeah, I'm just sort of looking for my shortcut to this. I think it's more that it's very low end heavy. We shall see. That's from an Aphrodite tune.
Cool. There's
Lovely.
lot of bass in that tune.
A lot of bass in the tune. Yeah, there's a lot of bass in the tune. It's such a beautiful tune as well. It's wicked, but that bass and kick, you can see. Look, I've had to really, really reduce that in order to just get a bit of volume back out of the track. So
But
that's down to.
the good news is it's all fixable. The tune is
Of course.
great. That's the hard part. Remember,
Honestly,
that's the hard part. The hard part is coming up with an original tune. You've done that. Big up yourself.
my
We
days.
can fix the rest. What's happened here?
I
Blackout.
don't know. Honestly, I updated to Reaper 7 the other day, right? And there's already people complaining, saying how unstable it is. And there you go. It just goes to show already. Like, this is how unstable it is.
Well, whilst you're fixing yourself, let me know when that's good. The thing
my
is that
days.
the hard part is coming up with the tune, coming up with the idea. Beautiful. Let me tell you what I wrote here. Good use of sounds, vocal samples, beautifully put together. Could use some Foley effects to fill some spaces as this loses energy on the dance floor. Lots of mix issues, but I meant that in the most positive way, like, because mixing can be fixed. So on the dance floor, when you've got those gaps, yeah. Think about people, they're sort of standing around here and they don't know what to do with themselves. So sometimes just having those little sounds, those reverses, the reverse vocals, it just stops people feeling uncomfortable on the dance floor. And that's a big thing, you know, like you want to make sure the energy stays up even when you're dropping down to like certain bits. How you feeling, Dapz? You ready to do the thing?
Yeah. I've just dropped in the final track as well while we was there.
Cool. All right, I'll
So
let you take over this bit, but great track. Good job, man. Really like that. You know, again, for me, it's just mixed stuff, really. The rest of it all works. It's just mixed
yeah.
stuff.
That's the same for me. All the ingredients are there. Everything is there. Like, I love the use of the vocals. I love the B line. I love the drums as well. As I say, everything is there. It's just a mix thing. You could see that I haven't got the EQ settings anymore because obviously Reaper just crashed on us. But other than that, you know, it's going back to what we said earlier about Ryder's tune. That with a mix down, a solid mix down, that'd be an amazing tune. It's beautiful. You know what I mean?
It's
You can
gorgeous.
listen to it all day. It is a lovely tune. So, you know, I was basically getting into monitoring. I don't know what's happened.
I don't know. I was just going to say, be careful with your use of samples, though. If you're giving a tune away, obviously that's fine. If you're just putting it up as a mashup on SoundCloud or whatever, but be careful when you are, you know, make sure you work with platforms like Splice or LoopCloud where the samples are royalty free. That is important for you so you don't get done, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But it'd be interesting if you're in the chat to know, how are you monitoring? Are you on headphones? Are you on speakers? Because for the bass to be that overpowering is telling me that you are using something that's not reproducing the low end as accurate as it, you know, should be, or even close. Because, you know, we had to reduce the bass quite a lot in order to just gain some volume. So when we first played the track, I was a bit like, hang on, have we got a filter on here? Because it just felt very, you know, sub heavy. So I played a sample. Okay, you're making tunes on headphones. What headphones are you using? I mean, you know, there's I mean, I use this, so Sound ID, and I've got the Focal Clears, and I've also got the the Biodynamic DT990 Pros. But although I like them, I can't get on with them without using this calibration. Like, for me, I have to use it with calibration, otherwise they just sound too bright. They sound very, very bright to me. But with the clears, obviously we're not running any software in this, so that is 100% as it is. But I can when I use these Focal Clears, as Rat was saying earlier, they're so genuine in the reproduction of sound.
Yeah. I'll go to Do we do our last tune and then we'll do questions if there are
Yeah,
any?
yeah. No, yeah. Let's do
But
that. Let's do that.
Great job, man. That's really
Yeah,
awesome.
awesome. Right, so the last tune is
Heidi,
Tidy
Heidi.
Heidi.
And
Let's go.
if we haven't got 2 tunes, we will do them on the next one in November. And so don't feel sad. We've
That
got
you
them in
missed
a
out.
folder. We
Yeah,
will do it
because
in the next
as you
one.
can see, we've done 10 tunes and we've already done 2 hours. So you know,
And there's
what I mean?
a lot more tunes as well. We just haven't
Yeah,
got the
exactly. So right, let's do this. Last one, people.
Ooh, nice.
Pula pra próxima, desse jeito não dá. Não quero nem pensar aonde vai chegar. Pula pra próxima, pula pra próxima, pula pra próxima, desse jeito não dá. Não quero nem pensar aonde vai chegar. Chega de blá 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 e bora trabalhar. Pula pra próxima, pula pra próxima, desse jeito não dá. Não quero nem pensar aonde vai chegar. Chega de blá 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 e bora trabalhar. Pula pra próxima, pula pra próxima. Pula pra próxima, desse jeito não dá. Não quero nem pensar aonde vai chegar. Chega de blá 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 e bora trabalhar. Pula pra próxima, pula pra próxima.
Nice. Feeling that? I'm absolutely feeling that.
I absolutely love that. Big sound effect for that one. That is a
I'll do it
wicked-
myself. Do.
That tune is so gorge. I just love it. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it's deep and it's dark and it's beautiful, but it's got that jungle vibe. Oh, I just like, and I saw the healthy bass line on the fetus scanner, I'm going to call it.
Oh yeah. It was very clear. You know, you're starting to understand it now, innit?
I am. I'm starting to understand your spectrum analyzer, and it looked really good.
Clean. It was, everything had its own space. That some of those B lines took me back to, you know, like some of the. What was it? It was on Speed of Sound. There's a track on Speed of Sound, Ram LP. He's got that. He's got those sort of B lines where it's like boom, boom, and it goes boom, 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 boom. It's honestly,
Just
it's
love
very
a good
clean.
wobble sub, man.
Yeah.
I haven't
Yeah.
got anything bad to say. And there's nothing bad to say about any of
There
them. But
isn't.
I haven't got anything to pick on that. For me, I just put sound compression on basses as they're poking out in the mix a bit. But
Yeah.
that's a slight thing.
The minor.
I mean, minor. Say less. But honestly, it's so good. I just love. What a great track to end on. I don't know if they're.
We're back.
I don't know if Audio Sorcerer is in the room or Heidi Tidy. I'm not sure what the name is. Of,
Which way round it is.
which way round it is. But either way, great job. Have you got anything to say about that one? Because
No, I was just curious to hear how it sounds in mono and stereo. So just one second. See, this is actually a great example. So listen to the track in mono. You can hear everything. Go to stereo. And then again, if you're on headphones or speakers, you'll notice that it just you feel like you get the depth, you get the width in your ears. You know, it something doesn't just jump out at you like, well, where did that just come from? Do you know what I mean? So great use of mids and sides there. It feels like you've sort of tamed the sounds, you've carved it out, and you're placing things where they need to be. It's cool, you know.
I
As
love
Rap
that
says,
sub.
yeah,
I'd love to know how you made those subs, if they were from your point, if they were made,
like
or
a
if they
synth,
were,
yeah.
yeah, or if these were sample. I'd love to know, because, you know, getting the subs right like that is not easy.
Yeah, as straightforward as that is, because I mean there is, as you'd know, like the old school tricks where you play two keys together to make them oscillate,
Yeah,
or you could just do a loop. But these sound very clean and tidy. You
that's
know,
what I
you
mean.
sound,
That's
yeah,
hard to
you know,
do.
it
That's
sounds
hard to
very
do.
clean and tidy. Yeah, so well, I haven't really got anything bad to say. You know, it's a winner for me. It's a chicken dinner.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. All right, we're gonna wrap up here. Pull it.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap up here. Firstly, Dean Hudson Jones is saying, DJ Rap, how do you go about making a tune? Well, that's a
Yeah,
big
let's go
question.
to the other view as well, Rap. So Reaper don't just do its mad things to us.
Yeah, one sec. Here we go. How do you go about making a tune? Do you have a general idea in your head? Oh, so where do you start? Ooh, I don't think we have enough time for that one.
Well,
It,
as a quick answer, sorry to cut, but as
no,
a quick answer, sometimes for me, this is going back in the day, when I was flicking through samples or you're tidying up your sample library, sometimes you'll come across one particular sound that you might go, oh wow, I'm getting a good vibe off that, and you can just sort of use it and build a tune off the back of that. For me,
yeah,
that's how it
yeah.
was.
Okay. There are two ways, there's multiple ways to do it, but for me, that's how I've made tunes. Now, because I feel like I'm not going to say I've mastered my craft, because you're always learning, but I feel like I'm getting pretty good at what I'm doing. I now start with an idea in my head, and I go, I have an idea. How can I make that translate on the bass line? So, for example, with the General Levy track, it was different. I had his vocal, and I had to sit there and listen to the vocal, but I didn't have the vocal initially, right? So I had to build a tune and send it to him and hope that he liked it and send back the vocal. And then over 3 months, I changed the tune and worked it around. So you could say I worked to a sample in that case, in a way, right? So that's one idea. But now I'm doing a track for David Boomer. And, you know, I'm imagining, I listen to how he sounds on YouTube, and I listen to some of his tracks. And then I listen to the key the track was in, because I'm like, that's what he's comfortable spitting bars at, basically. So
Yeah.
I wrote a track with a vocal in mind to do it. And I was like, this is how I want it to sound. So I would say at this part of my career, where I feel like I'm really starting to understand drum and bass a lot better than I did before, I now think of the tune and the bass line in my head, and I call it, I don't want the tail to wag the dog. I want the dog to wag the tail. Because what happens before is that you'll flick through samples, and something will give you an idea, and that's great. And then you know what to do with it, and that's equally as good. But what was happening before, a lot of the times, I would just be getting not lucky with sounds, but sometimes it would be like, oh, that was I didn't expect. Whereas now, when I'm making the tune, everything is with intention. I still have those lucky moments and happy accidents, and that's great. But now I'm really thinking about the intention of, like, no, you know, like, I want it to sound like this, and I'm the boss here, Ableton, not you. And now that I've mastered Ableton to such a high degree, it's now doing what I want. So what's in my head is coming out. So, and
Yeah.
that is a beautiful feeling, because it's taken me, I would say, 25 years to get to that point, and a lot of other people got there in 3 months or 4 months or 1 year, and it's just taken me a long time. Your journey's your journey, you know. And I'm always got my head stuck in a tutorial or YouTube, or I'm always asking Dapz advice, and it's just constant work, constant work,
Yeah.
constant work, constant work. It's boring, because it's boring. It's boring, and a lot of times, like, I don't make tunes because I'm like, oh, it's going to be such a lot of work. But, you know, but when I do get in the saddle and I do start making a tune, I know now what to do, you
Yeah.
know, to make those
You'd like to
tunes
get that
sound
head
better.
start.
Yeah,
Um,
you
But
know.
yeah, just so basically, just going back to how the bass lines were made. So you made them in Vital. Vital's a really cool synth for those. that don't know about, I actually make a lot of kicks and snares for when I'm mixing people's tracks and the kick or snare is not quite translating very well. I would then use a pre-made kick that I've made from Vital or a snare just to help with the fundamental, or use it as like the body, and then use the snare or whatever from the mix as the character sound, so that the art.
What you mean? You made the sub in Vital?
Yeah, he's made the sub in Vital. Yeah, it's a synth called Vital. It's a free plugin as well, free VST synth. It's absolutely brilliant.
Oh, that's amazing. I'll check that out. Thank you for the tip.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
check it out.
I
There's
love it
a
when
lot.
people
Yeah,
share. Look, I'll tell you something else. A lot of people are frightened about sharing their tips and whatever. And we aren't, because what makes you different from everyone else is the way you put the tune together, your talent, the way you see the tune in your head written, or the way it unfolds in front of you. We all have the same plugins. We can all get the same plugins, but that doesn't mean we'll all make the same tune. So thank you for being generous with sharing, how you make sounds and how you do things, because it's a community, right? We want to encourage other producers and make sure that you all know. So I've got a student right now that I'm training. She's amazing, teaching rather, not training. She's an amazing producer, and she doesn't have one plugin, so we're just using everything stock Ableton.
stock.
That's
Yeah,
what she's doing.
yeah. With
And
Ableton, you can do that in Ableton. It's powerful, very powerful plugin. Why do you think Ableton costs so much? Do you know what I mean? Like, you think about it, Ableton's one of the most expensive DAWs out there, and it's because every plugin is very, very good.
yeah, you don't need to, you can, obviously, as you progress, you can reward yourself with better plugins, and not better, but different
Well,
ones. Like,
Ollie at Exile. No,
Yeah.
not Exile. Exception. Sorry.
yeah, Exception.
He's back. He's got the writing bug again. He's back, but he says to me he's been trying loads of different DAWs and he's loving Ableton.
Ableton is Bableton. Ableton's my Bableton. It's why I'm
Hang
not
on, what
married.
we got? There's an interesting comment here. I don't like AI questions, but there was an AI question a minute ago.
Oh yeah, what was that?
Will AI? I think there it is. Do you think AI will replace DJs in the future? I hate AI questions.
The bad ones, yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, like, whether it replaces them or not, I don't think you'll ever replace somebody DJing at an event, because the whole point of going to an event is to listen to and watch your favorite artist acts or whatever.
Also,
But going to weddings and stuff like that, yeah, you could build your own playlist with AI.
They're already doing
what's
that,
it called?
aren't they?
Is it GPT chat or
Chat
something?
GPT.
Chat GPT. With that program, you can create playlists. You can get Spotify to mix your music, as in not mix it as in mix it down. What I mean is get one track playing into another track without pauses or silence. I mean, for me, that
Don't forget,
madness.
DJing's all about energy. It's about that person going up there and transferring their energy to the crowd. And that's why when you see DJs who are really active on the crowd, and I'm one of them, that, is always interacting with the crowd, and the biggest bands in the world that do that, they're huge. Like, look at Queen, and what they were like, because they made it interactive with the audience. So AI, I think AI can be part of it. Like this weekend, I went to a AI sort of virtual reality thing and did Squid Game, and I thought, wouldn't that be cool if you were DJing and all the walls were interactive and it was all happening? So I think we can use it alongside it, but I don't think there's anything that's going to beat the human. I don't know.
No, it won't. But on another note, right? Because obviously, some people I DJ or I do like bits and pieces on Twitch, and I remember DJing on Twitch on this raid train, and my brother said to me, because he was actually here, and he said to me, if people are so interactive on Twitch, like throwing you money or bits or the emojis and your screen's blowing up with loads of things, it's crazy if you're into Twitch. But he was saying, what's the next thing? And I was like, well, it'd be virtual reality. You'd put your goggles on and you'd go to a virtual club and listen or watch a virtual DJ while a DJ's playing. Do you know what I mean? So it's crazy to think what's going to be in the next 5 to 10 years.
Who knows, man? We got a last question here. Dapz, do you have any tutorials on the best export settings for different DAWs like Ableton? Now, I do this with Dapz all the time. I'll call him and be like, Wait, what do you want me to?
Sending me screenshots.
Like, do you want what? Because he wants me to export things at different things, and it's like, you know, that even though I'm good at what I do, like when it comes to exporting, you know, I have them set up as the way I do it, but he'll sometimes tell me to do it different. So why don't you break it down?
I think to be honest, the answer would always be it depends, because it depends on what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? So if you was to say to me, I want to play a track on at a club, I want to test it out, see how it sounds, then do it as a 44 100 16-bit. Make sure you diver as well. But if you're like, oh, I want to send this off as mastering, then send it at the sample rate you produced it at. Don't upsample, going from 44 100 to 48 96, whatever. Keep it at the same, and then export it as a 32-bit float, because the 32-bit float file, WAV file, whatever, AF, it eliminates the ceiling, and the ceiling is 0 dB. So
If you've got it at 41, export it
Yeah.
at 41, but then
Yep.
32-bit
as a pre-master.
as a pre-master. Okay.
Yeah, so if you want to test it in a club, do it as a 16-bit, only because I think some controllers or CDJs or whatever decks, they don't understand 24-bit or 32-bit. I might be wrong with the 24-bit, but I
Let me
know
see what
that.
I've got on my settings on Ableton. And because it's the 32-bit, or is it? Because, you know, it's either 16, isn't it? 24, or is it? Is it
You can go up to 64-bit now, but what I'm saying is a floating point file for the matter, like a floating point file eliminates 0. So let's say like you're going, well, how loud shall I send it? Shall I send it as -3 dB or -6 dB? Because there's a lot of like analogies or whatever people want to think of. You could have it like +3 dB for all I care, but if you send it as a floating point, that +3 dB, let's say that's 0, and then the peaks and everything are going above. As a floating point, I can then turn the audio down in the box, you know, like the wave, the box of the audio. I can turn it down and bring the peaks back, and the peaks are still there, they're not being cut. But at a 24-bit or 16-bit, anything that passes 0 dB just gets sheared off like a clipper.
Yeah, I don't think on Ableton it gives you all the. I mean, it basically you've got your 44 100, and you can change your sample rate there. You've got your pitch conversion, and you've got your buffer size. You know, for bit, that's a whole different. Where is it? You change it. So I think I keep it on basically what you told me to, 16 bit.
There's some amazing. If you go on YouTube and go on to Dan Worrell's got an amazing diver video. Now, when it first came out, it's like a half-an-hour video of divering, and you're thinking, do I really need to watch a half-an-hour video of divering? But it's very, very knowledgeable, and he breaks it down why you should diver, when you should diver. But as for exporting, as I say, if you're going from 24-bit to 16-bit, diver. If you're going from if you're exporting as a 32-bit float, you don't need to diver.
So yeah, here on Ableton, when you go to the track to export, it gives you the bit depth and all that stuff, and it gives you multiple choices. So you've got 16, 24, 32, and I have mine on 32, and I have no dither. Do you suggest putting it on dither or not? Because Ableton takes it off automatically.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, if you've got a tune and you've just finished it and you want to play it out, you're best off just dithering it, because
Interesting.
it's the truncation of the bits of the silent parts. So the parts like reverbs, delays, as they get quieter and quieter and quieter, they start breaking up. They, you know, like if it's passing through a gate, it starts going. You probably wouldn't hear it.
Hold on a minute. I just want to bring a point up, because I'm looking at my Ableton whilst we're doing this, and because I know people are going to have questions on this. So when you switch the bit depth to 16th, the dithering option is there. It gives you options. It goes no dither, rectangular, triangular, blah 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 onwards. But if you switch to 32, it
switches it off.
It switches it
That's
off.
that's what I'm saying. So if you go to 32-bit, you don't need to dither, because there's no point.
It gets rid of the ceiling.
It gets rid of the ceiling. It gets rid of the noise floor per se.
Nice.
But so yeah, that's why I say to everybody, if you're going to send a pre-master, send it as a 32-bit float at the same sample rate. There's no point in upsampling.
Which is why I have mine set to 32 and 44.1. Okay.
And that's another question. Someone said to me, like, is it worth producing at 48? And I was like, it's up to you, but you're going to end up back at 44 100 anyway. So
that's what iTunes plays everything at. All the
you know what I mean?
all the social media stores, all the DSPs, basically digital social platforms, whatever, they are all at 44.1. So
What's that? I can't remember its name, unfortunately, but it was pretty blown. Be blown away by the new update to a VST where you can sample a sound and it would analyze the DNA and offer you seeds. That's some madness. There was a question to do with how to use, how to check the mono compatibility in Ableton. I think that was for you, right? But Soul Rebel Sound says you can do that in Fruity Loops, Studio 2, and if it is.
Just
Yeah.
stick a utility on the end of your master channel, right? And just put it in mono and then listen to it in stereo as well.
Yeah, just keep flicking, or you can do
That's
it on
all.
individual channels, buses, whatever. But
Again, the spectrums are useful for that because, well, not the spectrum, the Voxengo span.
yeah,
That will tell you
but
about how you...
just something else as well. Someone saying if Ableton's good enough for Timbaland, then obviously it's good enough for you. I just think at the end of the day, use whatever you feel comfortable with. I mean, I was a Cubase user for about 20 years nearly, and like I just went to Reaper and I loved it. I just,
Cubase Anonymous.
yeah, you know.
It's been 6 years since my last session.
I was
Let's
like
have a look.
Cubase and all sorts of bits, man. So
Yeah.
WAV, AIF, FLAC. Personally, just stay with WAV. I mean, everything's WAV. Everything. I mean, AIF and FLAC. Well, I don't know about FLAC, but AIF. I think. Don't quote me on this, but I think that was Mac trying to, do their own thing again. as Macs do.
I don't recommend it.
We'll do our own thing, but no WAV. You can't get. You can't go wrong with that, mate.
Oh yeah, I think Simplant. That's right. Simplant does use seeds. It's actually do you know what? I had a synth called Simplant, but it was like 15 years ago, and it used something called seeds, and it had these like flowery sort of. It was really futuristic synth,
Okay.
and you basically joined the seeds to each other, and then you made synths. It was like sort of
nice.
having a massive analog sort of. I don't know. I didn't know if that even still existed. That's cool.
So what you got? I use Reason 11. The highest export bit rate is 24-bit. I think that's just the nature of the beast. I mean, there's a lot of Logic users that still use like a crack version, and they're still limited. Yeah, they're still limited to using 24-bit, and I'm like, okay, you must be using the crack. But in that case, just make sure there's headroom. So if you do export a pre-master, just make sure you're not going past 0 and then div up.
That's minus 6 dB at least.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
Minus 6
it's just a good rule of thumb. But yes, SRS, mate, I say that to everybody. Whatever you can do in that door, you can pretty much do in any door within reason of what it is you're doing.
Right then, I think it is a good point to wrap up. We want to thank you all for submitting your tracks and having the courage to do that, because we know it takes courage and it's nerve-wracking to listen to your track being played in front of a bunch of strangers and producers as well. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for your kindness. And thank you, Dapz, for
Thank you, as
taking
always.
time out of your busy schedule, mate, to do this with me. We like to give back and we like to give our time, and we love that you send us tracks. If you want to send us more tracks, you head over to my website. You'll see a Join the Tribe tab and a drop-down menu underneath it, and there's simply one that says Open Your Door. Just sign up, and then I don't spam you. I'll send you like 2 newsletters a month, just letting you know when the next door session is and when it's time to submit your tracks. And that's simple. We just keep it nice and easy. And hopefully we'll see you again in November.
In November for the special.
For the specials. So thanks, guys.
Big ups.
Love you. Be kind to each other, and we'll see you
Respect.
soon.
Take care. Laters.
Bye.
Mama.